1960 was a different kind of year, not just in the world, in the music. Something was happening in the studios where people moved to sounds they'd never heard before and felt like the artist on that record somehow knew exactly what they were going through. It was somebody saying, "I've been there too. I know that feeling." Today, we're counting down 12 of the weirdest, most unforgettable R&B songs from that decade. Songs that shouldn't have worked. Songs that got banned and never left us anyway. One of these tracks was recorded by an artist who claimed he had absolutely no memory of making it. It went on to be covered over 1,000 times. That story's coming. Stay with me. Number 12, Oop Shoop, Shirley Gunter and the Queens. We start where a lot of people's musical memories start, in the background. Oop Shoop wasn't the loudest song in the room. It wasn't trying to be. But if you could ever decide to leave, it was the song playing softly at the end of the night when the party was winding down and people were figuring out who they were walking home with. Shirley Gunter and the Queens has something that a lot of groups chased and never quite caught. Effortless cool. Those doo-wop syllables weren't just filler, they were feeling. They were the sound of young women expressing something that words hadn't fully invented yet. If you grew up with older siblings, you probably heard this one floating out of their bedroom on a Sunday afternoon. It was one of those songs that didn't need an explanation. It just landed. Where were you the first time something like this made you feel something you couldn't name? From that soft Sunday sweetness, we move to something that'll make you want to grab the nearest person and do something completely ridiculous on the dance floor. Number 11, The Clapping Song by Shirley Ellis in 1965. Shirley Ellis understood something that most artists forget. Joy is contagious. Pat your partner's left palm with your left palm. The clapping song wasn't complicated. It was hand games and playground chants turned into pure R&B electricity. And the genius of it, you couldn't hear it without participating. Your hands just started. Your mouth just started. Ellis had this incredible gift for taking something that felt childlike and spinning it into something that felt communal. Clap your hand, pat your partner's right palm. Grown adults were doing hand claps at parties. Grandmothers were clapping along. Nobody was too cool for this song, and the ones who tried to act like they were clapping by the second chorus. This was music that reminded you it was okay to be silly, that joy didn't have to be complicated. Do you still remember the clapping pattern? I bet some part of your hands does. From joy that made your hands move, we go to a name that'll make your whole memory light up. Your right palm again. Before we continue, can I ask you for a small favor? Only a tiny percentage of the people watching this channel are actually subscribed. That means more than 95% of you enjoy the videos but haven't joined the family yet. And honestly, that part stings a little. Videos like this don't just happen. They take hours of digging through old records, researching artists, double-checking facts, all to bring back memories and give these songs the respect they deserve. If this channel has ever helped you rediscover a forgotten track, made you smile, relax, or feel a little nostalgic, that's exactly why it exists. So before we move on, take just a second to hit subscribe. It's completely free, but it truly means the world to us. It tells YouTube that this music still matters and that the work behind these videos is worth supporting. All right, now let's get back to the music. Number 10, The Name Game, Shirley Ellis, 1964. Shirley Ellis twice in the top 12? Absolutely, because the woman was operating on a different level. The Name Game did something that shouldn't have worked. It turned a children's wordplay game into a bona fide R&B hit. And then I say, banana, fana, faux, fana, you know the rules. You probably tried it with your own name the first time you heard it. And then I say the name again with an F. You probably tried it with names that definitely didn't come out clean on the other side and laughed until you couldn't breathe. B or an F. Ellis wrote the song based on a real game she used to play as a kid, and that authenticity is exactly why it hit so hard. Name, I treat it like it wasn't manufactured novelty. It was genuine, laugh-out-loud play set to a groove that absolutely not. Name, the first letter of it peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. 3, with a song built on syllable substitution. That tells you everything you need to know about how special the 1960s were. B or an F. We'll come back to that playful spirit later, but first, let's take a left turn into something a little more theatrical. Name, I treat it like it. Number 9, Dinner with Drac, John Zacherle.
What a swimmer is Count Dracula.
Now this one right here, if you heard Dinner with Drac as a kid and it didn't haunt your dreams just a little bit, I'm not sure we had the same childhood.
3, which pickles are in turn.
John Zacherle, known as the Cool Ghoul, was a TV horror host who somehow wandered into the recording studio and made something that was equal parts terrifying and hilarious. The song described Dracula hosting a dinner party. The menu was not for the faint of heart, and yet kids loved it because it was campy and creepy and funny all at once, which is basically the entire emotional range of being 8 years old. It charted. It actually charted, which means somewhere in 1958, a program director at a radio station listened to a song about eating eyeballs at Dracula's dinner table and said, "Yes, we're playing this."
What a swimmer is Count Dracula.
God bless the 1960s. From the creepy to the cosmic, because this next track took the whole party outside and pointed it at the stars.
3, which pickles are in turn.
Number 8, Grazing in the Grass by the Friends of Distinction, 1969.
Watch him as the world goes past.
Close to the end of the decade, something shifted. The world had been through a lot by 1969. And Grazing in the Grass felt like a collective exhale, like someone opened the back door, walked out into the yard on a warm evening, looked up at the sky and just breathed. The Friends of Distinction took Hugh Masekela's instrumental hit and wrapped it in harmonies so lush and warm, it felt like summer itself had learned to sing. The lyrics were simple, almost too simple, but that was the point. Sometimes the most profound thing music can do is give you permission to rest. This song was everywhere that summer. Windows down, volume up, nobody in a hurry to get anywhere. Can you feel that? That specific kind of late 60s evening warmth? From that warm, open air, we drop into a basement party where things are about to get a little unhinged. Number 7, Double Shot of My Baby's Love by the Swingin Medallions, 1966. is no polite way to describe what double shot does to a room. It just destroys it in the best possible way. The Swingin Medallions were a blue-eyed soul group from South Carolina, and they played this thing like their lives depended on it. Horns blaring, vocals ragged, the whole production feeling like it was one beat away from falling completely apart. And that barely controlled chaos, that was the magic. The song is about a man who had too much of his baby's love and is now experiencing what can only be described as romantic overdose. It is unhinged, it is glorious. It peaked at number 17 nationally, which means millions of people heard this and said, yes, this represents something real in my life. If this came on at a party, you didn't walk to the dance floor, you ran. Number 6, Loop-De-Loop by Johnny Thunder, 1963. Here's one that doesn't get nearly enough credit. Johnny Thunder's Loop-De-Loop was the kind of song that wrapped itself around you like a melody you'd always known but couldn't place. That call and response hook, loop-de-loop, la-la-la, was built to live in your head rent-free for the rest of your natural life. It hit number 4 on the pop charts in early 1963. And then, like so many songs from that era, it got swallowed by the tide of what came next. But for the people who remember it, it never really left. This was the song for a specific kind of young love, the dizzy, slightly ridiculous, can't think straight kind. The kind where you're not sure if you're falling for someone or if you've just lost your mind completely. Still to come, a song on this list that was so raw, so unpolished, that the label almost folded entirely, and it became one of the most iconic moments of the decade. Number 5, Funky Broadway, Dyke and the Blazers, 1966. Every town I go in. Before James Brown fully owned the word funky, Dyke and the Blazers were already living there. Funky Broadway was recorded in Phoenix, Arizona, of all places, and it had this loose, swaggering groove that felt like it was daring you to not move. Our Lester, Dyke Christian, sang it like he was letting you in on a secret. Like Broadway wasn't a place, it was a feeling you could only find if you knew where to look. Wilson Pickett would later cover it and take it to number 1. But if you know, you know. The Dyke and the Blazers original has a grit and an energy that the polished version just couldn't fully replicate. This is one of those songs where the original matters, where first matters. Number 4, Wang Dang Doodle by Koko Taylor, 1966. If there is a more powerful voice in this entire countdown, I haven't found it. Koko Taylor didn't sing at you, she came for you. Wang Dang Doodle, written by the legendary Willie Dixon, was a party song about a party that clearly had no interest in ending before sunrise. Automatic Slim, razor-totin' Jim, butcher knife-totin' Annie. Every character in this song was fully committed. And Koko? She sounded like she personally knew every single one of them. Chess Records released it, and it went to number 1 on the R&B charts. Taylor became the queen of the blues that year and never gave the crown back. But what made this song weird, gloriously weird was how it straddled the line between blues and something almost theatrical. It was storytelling, it was performance, it was a whole world compressed into 3 minutes. Close your eyes and play this one loud. You'll feel it somewhere in your chest. Number 3, Walking the Dog, Rufus Thomas, 1963. Rufus Thomas was 63 years old when he performed at a music festival in a pink cape and hot pants. That's who we're dealing with. Walking the Dog was quirky before quirky had a name. The rhythm was slippery and playful. The lyrics were full of that double-meaning blues tradition, and Thomas delivered the whole thing with the grin of a man who knew exactly what he was doing and dared you to keep up. The Rolling Stones covered it. That alone tells you how much weight this song carried. When the Stones are taking notes, something special is happening. But the Rufus Thomas original has a looseness, a funkiness before funk existed as a genre that never got topped. This is the one that made people stop and say, wait, what is this man doing? And then they started doing it too. Number 2, Psychotic Reaction, Count 5, 1966.
Oh, little girl, psychotic reaction.
This is the one that almost didn't get released. Count 5 were teenagers, actual teenagers from San Jose, California, who wrote and recorded Psychotic Reaction with a rawness that their label wasn't sure about. The song was noisy, it was chaotic. The guitar riff was borrowed and twisted and played like it owed someone money. But something about it was undeniable. It went to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. 5 for a garage band of teenagers who were told the song was too strange. Psychotic Reaction captured something that polished studio recordings couldn't. The feeling of emotion that has absolutely outrun your ability to control it. Love turning into something that makes you pace the floor. Something that feels, as the title suggests, a little unhinged. Anyone who's ever been deeply in their feelings over someone they couldn't shake, this was the soundtrack. Number 1, I Put a Spell on You, Screamin Jay Hawkins. There was never any other choice for number 1. Screamin Jay Hawkins recorded I Put a Spell on You, and the result was so raw, so feral, so uncontrollably emotional that the label initially refused to release it. Jay himself claimed he didn't fully remember recording it. What came out of that studio was something that didn't belong to any genre. It was its own thing entirely. He howled, he moaned, he declared his love like a man possessed, because that's exactly what the song was about. Love that doesn't ask for permission, love that doesn't care about being rational or dignified or quiet. By the mid-60s, it had found its audience, and that audience grew and grew. Nina Simone covered it. Creedence Clearwater Revival covered it. It appeared in films decades later and still hit with the same force as the day it was recorded. Because some feelings don't age. This song is weird and wonderful and completely impossible to forget, which is exactly what the best love does to you. These 12 songs were never going to sit still in a museum. Lincoln. They weren't the kind of music that asked to be studied or analyzed. They asked to be felt, danced to, sung out loud in cars and kitchens and living rooms where the furniture had been pushed back to make room for something more important than comfort. The 1960s gave us music that was joyful and strange and raw and human all at once. Music that didn't worry about being too much because it knew that sometimes too much is exactly the right amount. These songs lived in people's real lives, in first dances and late nights and long summers and moments that seemed ordinary at the time but turned golden in memory. And now they live here, in this video, and whatever feeling just moved through your chest while you were watching. So tell me, which one still hits you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely love to know.
All right.